Welcome back. This is John Locke, and today we're talking about the ROI of social media, how it can help you get more leads, and even how it can play a role in your overall SEO strategy. So several years ago, I made a video talking about the ROI of social media, and I really wanted to come back to this and replace that old video with one with more updated information about how social media plays a role in your overall strategy of marketing and how it plays a role in your SEO. Now, one thing that has remained true with SEO, Google really wants to rank a big brand company. One of the characteristics of a large brand is they're always looking for lead generation in all the places where their customers are. And large global brands, or even companies that are starting to grow, they have dedicated profiles on all the major social platforms, whatever they are at this moment that you're watching this. They know the importance of reaching customers where they're at. And in this modern era, most people spend their time on their smartphone, which I think for a variety of reasons was the real catalyst to social media becoming such an integral part of our lives. The truth of the matter is people don't go directly to your website unless they type something in Google or maybe Bing, and then they go directly to your website. But most of the time, they're researching a problem beforehand and they're getting brand awareness. They're looking at different places for an answer. And a lot of times, they're looking for answers on social media. Social media platforms are also where we congregate to find people that are sharing interesting ideas, that are entertaining us. And platforms like Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram are where our friends, family, colleagues, and strangers who we share like-minded ideas with, they hang out there. Like the name suggests, social media is all about being social. Now, we've gone through a few generations of social platforms so far. Some of the first were Orkut, Friendster, and then the second wave was MySpace. Then everybody started going to Facebook. The thing about social networks is there's a big network effect. All your friends and family and all your colleagues tend to find one or two places where they hang out and spend a lot of their time. And then that is usually the platforms that end up getting viral growth, and they get exponential growth, and then they become billion user platforms like Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Now there's many platforms that try to launch, and for whatever reason, they just don't become as viral. The traction just doesn't get there. And then you have stuff like Google Plus, which ends up falling by the wayside. But the big thing that I want to talk about is lead generation. Now, nowadays, we've had a few generations of social media apps and platforms. The thing that's different now than it was back 10 or 15 years ago when these things were brand new ideas, that there's a variety of them. There's a wide proliferation of different platforms that you could be on simultaneously. And it's not just one or two that everybody hangs out on. I think that is the hallmark of this generation of platforms, is there's something for everyone. So instead of everybody being on MySpace or Facebook, nowadays you might see people that are on 2 or 3 and spend most of their time there. For whatever reason, those are the ones that they're drawn to because they're finding entertaining content, they're finding informative content, they're finding ideas from different people around the world or around their neighborhood, and their friends and family are there. And so they hang out there. And this is the perfect place where brands go to try and raise brand awareness and acquire new customers. Social media, compared to other channels, can be a relatively inexpensive way to raise brand awareness. And this is why you see so many brands and companies that are growing, investing in content on these platforms. I want to talk about this too. Every platform has kind of a different language and kind of a different way of presenting content that seems to work for that. But Twitter has evolved over time. It didn't always look like the platform that it is now. And that is a thing that happens with a lot of these social platforms. There's an evolution of them. There's a life cycle of these platforms. And every platform, and every social platform, they have kind of a life cycle that goes along where they're introduced, they get a little bit of early adopter growth, they get viral growth, there's a peak, and then there's kind of a time where that usage diminishes. And I think right now Facebook is it's already hit its peak. Right now it has a little bit less than 2 billion active users, and it sounds like a lot, but it's actually starting to lose users now. And I think a part of why that's happening, a lot of the people who are younger, they don't want to be on Facebook or even necessarily Instagram. They want to be on platforms that are for their generation, that their generation grew up on, and where their friends and their colleagues and their peers already are, and that would be TikTok and Snapchat, Twitch, and to a lesser degree some of the legacy ones like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Social platforms are where people go to hang out virtually, and a lot of it has happened because smartphones are ubiquitous in the world today. And I just read a statistic today that said that there's over 6 billion smartphones out there that are active. Not necessarily 6 billion people, but there are about 5.3 billion people using smartphones right now out of 8 billion people on Earth. You can kind of do the math on that. The US, I believe, has 77% penetration with smartphones. And the US alone, I think, has about 77% or 80% smartphone penetration, meaning about 77 to 80% of all people who have a mobile device of some kind are using a smartphone. Now, this is way different than the social media use of 2010 or 2014, where mobile use was just starting to overtake desktop use. Nowadays, smartphones are cheap, they're available everywhere, and most people have some sort of connectivity to them. So they're on some sort of platform somewhere, whether it's Reddit or Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, they're on something. What should you do to make sure that you're reaching customers like these big global brands that are putting all this effort into all their different channels? Now, your company might not be that big. You might not have an entire digital marketing team in-house that's working for you to try and raise brand awareness and get new customers acquired. But you might have a person or two that works in your company that provides content to a handful of platforms that appeal to your audience. I think for manufacturing and industrial, a lot of those people will appeal to something like LinkedIn. Decision makers or C-level people, they're all going to be on LinkedIn. But you might have other people that are executives or have some sort of influence within the companies that you're trying to reach. They might be on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. Those would be the main ones that I would look at. Younger people that are making decisions within those companies that you're trying to reach or those customers that you're trying to reach, they would probably be on platforms like TikTok and YouTube. So where this fits into SEO, back in 2008, the then CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, told an entire room of advertisers that big brands are the way that they sort out the cesspool of sorting millions of pages at that time. Now it's probably billions of web pages and websites out there, millions of websites, billions of pages. They use the power of big brands to basically say, we trust these are large brands, these are like smaller entities, and we don't trust these as much. And one of the many characteristics of a large brand is they're looking to do customer acquisition in a variety of channels. One of those places will be social media. So even if you are a company of 1 or 2 people, if you're a company of 10 or 50, no matter what the size, you want to claim all of your social profiles on all the major platforms, whatever those are at the time that you're watching this. At this time, the ones that I believe are the major ones are Facebook, LinkedIn, and you should have a LinkedIn company page, not a regular profile, but a LinkedIn company page. Look it up, search for it, and you'll find Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, definitely. And like I said, there are other platforms that are growing at this time. Mastodon is getting a lot of buzz right now. There are newer platforms like Post that are out there right now. But a good determination of the ones for sure that you should be on is if you look at the most enterprise level brands within your industry, what are the social profiles that are listed in their Google business profile? When you search that company, there will be a row of icons in their knowledge graph. On the right-hand side on desktop, it will show the information about that company, but it'll show a row of the 5 most prominent social profiles that are out there. That will give you a good idea of which ones Google considers to be the most important. I know that there are only certain social profiles that will show up in there, and the ones that I mentioned previously, and I think Tumblr, MySpace, and SoundCloud, I think are the other ones that will show up in that space in 2022, 2023. There may be other ones that are added to that or subtracted from that down the line. Those ones seem to be the ones that Google trusts and says these are hallmarks of a big brand. If they have social profiles here, then that means that they're trying to reach the widest base of customers. They're trying to do customer acquisition in these areas, and that's a characteristic of that. So I would encourage you to do that, and that to me is the big ROI of social media, the big return on investment of your time and energy is you're building brand awareness, you're speaking in your brand voice. If you're doing it right on each type of platform, you're kind of following patterns and forms of communicating that people follow there. Like LinkedIn, I know it's popular to write these long posts and put them out there, like this thought leadership type of stuff. On Twitter, you might say some kind of short statements or some threads, or use humor or irony, or you might speak in GIFs or memes. That might be a way to that people respond to that. On YouTube, of course, you would use videos like this one. TikTok is more short videos, and there's a certain cadence and style to those as well that people respond to, and you will notice that if you study each social platform. Some social platforms I think are more, at this point, still around. They're still big, they're still larger than life, but I think their peak time, it's already passed in a way. I'm not saying you shouldn't be there, but definitely, like, you can have a Facebook page, you might even have a Facebook group. I'm sure there are many people that are still active on Facebook, but if you're targeting younger customers, they may not be on there as much as their parents or their grandparents. It's kind of like a platform for boomers at this point, but you should still be there. Just because Google expects to see that, and your customers might expect to see that too. A lot of my effort is really into just working the platforms that work for us. And for us, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn are there. YouTube is the most valuable out of all of those for us. And Twitter is probably number 2, and LinkedIn probably number 3. But you will find the ones that work for you. So I just want to wrap that up. That is the ROI of social media, in my opinion. And I want to know what you think. What social platforms are you on? Which ones are you thinking about? What ones are you hearing about that are coming up now? And currently, what could you be doing to reach more customers where they're already at, where they're already hanging out with their friends, family, colleagues, and strangers that they're getting ideas, information, entertainment, and news from in these social networks. All right, that's all I have for this video. My name's John Locke. My business is Lockedown SEO. If you have a question, leave it down in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe. That helps YouTube's algorithm surface this to more people. That's all I have for now. Until next time, peace.